A warm welcome to everybody for joining me in this overview of my Duchess coronation, Princess coronation, whatever you prefer to call these locomotives, that's in my collection. I'm starting off with the Hornby Dublo versions, and will complete this opening session with the Wren versions, which are basically a continuation of the Hornby Dublo models. So there will be another session where I will be covering the current Hornby's version of this locomotive. So I'm starting off here with Duchess of Montrose, which is Hornby Dublo, a 3-rail locomotive. So this doesn't run on my layout for obvious reasons. It's on on display in a cabinet. This was the I think the second version that came out from Hornby Dublo. The first version being Duchess of Atholl, which had been tooled and was ready for production in 1939 or early 1940, but was delayed because of the onset of the Second World War. I think the factory in Binns Road was given over to war production. I think things like detonators. So this was held back, and it emerged in 1947. Then, after the nationalisation of the railways in 1948, Hornby Dublo modelled this particular version, which is Duchess of Montrose, and as you can see, it's in this quite striking gloss green livery, and very smart it looks too. Following on from that, this is a later production from the mid to late 1950s. As you can see, it's in a matte, an overall matte scheme, as indeed all of their models were then produced. This one here is a 2-rail conversion, so it does run on a layout, and it's an excellent runner, testimony to the solid workmanship that goes into these, that the Hornby Dublo brand was renowned for. Next in line, we've got the Wren City of London. This, to all intents and purposes, is identical to the version that Hornby Dublo brought out in 1959. The body is a complete retooling, and actually rectified many of the faults that were on the original tooling. We must remember that these are very much products of their time, and of course when these came out, we're talking the 1930s here, that they really caused quite a sensation. But as time moves on, you know, maybe the shortcomings or the niggles one has about them start to become more apparent. Anyway, Hornby Dublo took matters in hand and they retooled the body, and as you can see, there's a much finer representation of detail and shape and finish to the look of the locomotive. Notwithstanding the size of those driving wheels, of course, why they never did anything about changing those, well, it's just one of those conundrums which we'll never really find out what the answer is. Same size as the wheels that they used on the A4, which if we scale them up to what they represent, they're about 5'8", when they should actually be 6'9". That aside, however, I think you can see that there are some improvements here. I've mentioned the look of the boiler, particularly the detail on the running plate, and the way that the boiler curves down. This is much, much better than what Hornby was later to achieve in 1977 with Duchess of Sutherland, which I felt was a pretty poor representation, but more of that later. The tender is plastic moulded with a new metal moulded chassis, which is quite a bit better than the original there. if you look at the top of the cab and the boiler of Duchess of Montrose, you can see how much better it is on the new tooling. So that's City of London. I've got a headboard on that one. I think it says Merseyside Express. LMS lamps I've fitted on the front. I mean, the other thing I've done with all of my Wren locomotives is to repaint the buffer beam. Hornby Dublo and Wrenn seem to have a very sort of almost quite sloppy finish to the way they painted the buffer beams. It was just, well, I suppose it, you know, it was a production line and there was people on a production line and all they had to do was just paint red on the front. So I've gone over that with correct colour buffer beam red, which actually makes it stand out much better and gives it a better finish. Moving along, we've got City of Birmingham. This is in the BR green livery, lined out green livery, black and orange. Very nice. Hornby Dublo never actually got round to doing one of these in green, so it was quite a welcome addition by Wren to model it in BR green. Very fine it looks too. I think if you look at the Wren representation of these, which as I say is identical to the Hornby Dublo, that the retooling resulted in a locomotive that had a higher profile off the rails. There's Duchess of Montrose, which was about circa 1955 to 1958. I think the gloss one was about 1951 to 53. But if you look at the way they stand on the rails, and you can see there's almost like a taper on the boiler underneath. So there it is. You can just see there is a difference in height there. Next in line is City of Glasgow in the early BR Express passenger livery of, I think it's Caledonian blue. They tried several shades of blue. There was one called experimental blue. There was an ultramarine blue, which was which I don't know. But they seem to settle on this one, which seems to approximate to me to the Caledonian livery. So again, this was a welcome addition, giving these locomotives another lease of life, a new livery. This one is, yes, Queen Elizabeth. Okay, now I bought this in a, it was like a bit of a job lot in a one of those shops that sells toys, second-hand toys, magazines, books and things. There's no box or anything. The lining was damaged, the wheels had been painted black, and there was generally a lot of marks on it. So I had to do a lot of superficial repairs to this, most of it involving the lining and the repainting of the straw coloured lining along the running plate. They obviously modelled this locomotive, Queen Elizabeth, Wren, because there's nameplates now. I managed to obtain nameplates, so I thought, well, I'd renumber and rename this one. So there's, as you can see, it's 46221. I also replaced the damaged BR emblem line on the wheel emblem. I think that's a fox one. Yes, and I cleaned off the paint on the wheels and buffed up the bright work. Applied new lining to the cylinders. That was all scratched off, so it looks all right. It has an etched number plate on the front, which doesn't really show up very well. That's why I prefer the transfers, because the number stands out very clearly on those. Anyway, we've got City of Liverpool. Hornby Dublo did make one called City of Liverpool. It was the 3-rail version. And here it is in its Wren representation with LMS insignia, LMS lettering and numbering. What have we got along here? Yes, it's City of Stoke-on-Trent. This is quite a common, it's easily obtained. It's quite a common locomotive. You'll see it for sale. Get them in quite good condition as well. I think there was very extensive production run of these in this very smart lined black livery that the LMS introduced in 1946-47. Unfortunately, didn't last very long because the railways were nationalised in 1948 under British Railways, and it was all changed and repaint the engines again. I have to say that this looks very smart indeed. I do like this livery, and it suits these magnificent locomotives well. Next in line we've got Sir William A. Stanier, FRS, Fellow of the Royal Society, which I believe there's only 2 other railwaymen that were given that distinction, George Stephenson and Isambard Kingdom Brunel. So William Stanier is in some very great company when you consider that he was only the 3rd one to be bestowed that honour. This is I think, a limited edition, and it does attract quite a hefty price tag. The finish on it seems to be a bit better than on City of Stoke-on-Trent. Everyone I've seen anyway for sale, the painting and the liner looks a bit brighter and sharper, which might suggest that they were done all in one batch. And I think it was probably towards the end of their production that they produced this locomotive. There's a slight glitch on the S on this model. I've got a set of transfers for this locomotive, but I've not got around to sort of making a repair on that yet. It's going to be difficult, even though it's a transfer, because you have to put it sort of the wrong way round and press it in. Now, it's one of those things you can only you have to get right first time. So whether I'm going to do that, I don't know. I might just decide to paint it in, because there is an indentation on the end of that S. I don't know whether you can see it, but the red lining which is on the edges of the lettering is still there, and it forms an indentation, so it might be able just to fill it in with a bit of paint. Anyway, this is, as I say, an overview of the Princess Coronation class, as the LMS call them, a rather clumsy name. Some prefer to call them Duchesses. My father used to call them cities. So he pays you money, he takes your choice on that. Whatever you want, whatever anyone wants to call these locomotives, they stand out as some of the most magnificent examples of steam locomotive production and building in the history and saga of the railway steam locomotive. I believe I've read this somewhere, I can't remember where. They said that in the realm of all the history of steam locomotives built across the world, these do rank amongst the finest ever built. Anyway, I will leave it leave it here just for now, and I will get the next showing up, which will be the Hornby locomotives, ready for you to look at. So thanks for watching, and I will be with you again on part 2 of this presentation. Many thanks.